All right, folks, welcome back. Game number 2 in the semifinals underway. It's a best of 5, of course. Score always can be found displayed down here, but spawning in the bottom left corner of the map, playing for Fnatic, it's the red Protoss Harstem. Oh, 1 sec, sorry, I forgot to mute you. I'm bad. Thanks. Go for it.
Never right, ask the blue Terran. It's Gumiho.
I will love if that was like the one time you started to get like super enthusiastic, but I screwed it up on my end. Like the passion was just spewing. But yeah, so Harstem leading 1-0. I mean, taking a game off of Gumiho is not something that's impossible. And I kind of give him a bit of favoritism when it came to the foreigner predictions, but starting off the series 1-0, and not just in like some weird cheesy manner, like that was a fantastic macro game out of Harstem. And I want to stress, like, we've seen really cool games on Harstem where it goes so late in the game, he starts building offensive cannons for detection, for the ghosts, for the EMPs, but, like, none of that came out of Gumiho. And I can't help but wonder why, because he got the Ghost Academy so early. He invested in this cloak so early, and when he started dying to storms, we still didn't even see a single ghost come out.
Yeah, it does beg the question, like, why get it if you're going to go for that specific style? But then there might be something to be said about, like...
Well, I mean, you make a ghost, and that's 2 or 3 Marauders you no longer can make. So, I mean, it could have just been a scenario where he was panicking a little bit, thought, like, oh, I need more units, more than, like, better units.
It might be. I was actually thinking more like when you start to lose out against that Marauder Harry style with Vikings, for instance, and you're like, man, Colossus really aren't cutting it anymore. The Storms aren't able to, like, quite break through the Marauders. You start adding in Immortals. Or you can start adding in Immortals, right? Yeah. And then by that time, like, Archon, Immortal, Zealot does pretty well, and that's when we start adding in the Ghosts, maybe? So it was more like a, like, you know, if compositions change, I'll use the Ghosts. Because even towards the end, when obviously he was going to lose and he was starting to panic a little bit, he didn't get Ghosts. He got more Vikings. So I really think that choice not to get Ghosts was, like, super deliberate. But maybe it would have been a lot easier had he gotten Ghosts.
Well, Harstem puts his classic pylon up here. We see him so often just tag the Twilight Council with it. Regardless of when it comes out, I mean, the thing that's nice about this matchup, I think long and gone are the days where if you see the Twilight Council, you're like, oh my god, it's a Blink all in. No other option. You know, Blink has become such an integral part of the late game, the mid game even. It's nice to know that we can have these sort of macro games without relying on heavy cheese. And the fact that Harstem takes his natural so early, already feeling a lot better about the fact that, as earlier said, we're probably going to see more macro games out of these two.
Well, Gumiho goes for a 2-base Widowmine drop. I was kind of expecting a 1-base Widowmine drop after that last game. You know, Gumiho got into the lobby and said, "So Gosu."
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and he like versus Parting in a best 7 in our finals or our tournament, he would win a game if he went for like a 1-base Widowmine drop. It seems to be his comfort zone is to go back to that build. So, you know, 1-base, 2-base, that's what I expected.
Yeah, if you guys missed it, Gumiho versus Parting was, of course, the finals of the 32 Boys 1 Cup tournament we threw not too long ago, and it was a pretty back and forth and fantastic series as well. Although the thing is, though, when referencing that series, I can't help but feel Harstem plays almost the exact opposite of Parting, and I'm not talking in macro versus micro or anything, but to the point where Parting does a lot of these really cool but really weird moves, and Harstem plays more to what I think is quote-unquote standard out of Protoss.
Yeah, I mean, that was a series where we had 1-base Widowmine drop versus 1-base Blink Stalker all in, I think. So, much weirder games than someone like Harstem, who has played very, like, passive, defensive, macro, let's be chill. Yeah. But still, it's all about Gumiho's comfort zone here, and actually adding in a couple of Hellions as well. It's be, actually, not too surprising, but it could just be only 1 Widowmine as opposed to 2. It's going to be Blink again for Harstem as well, so very set in his ways so far.
Well, the Reaper comes diving across the map looking for something it can do on the front lines. Sadly, we'll be greeted with 2 Stalkers straight to the face. 2 Hellions going to run by to the natural. Going to get a couple of probe kills. Oh, based on the overcharge, actually.
He's not going to go for any Widowmine. This is going to be a Hellion drop.
I really love watching Terran players do this, though. So many Protoss have been just struggling with Hellions in general, but at the same time, we see some people who've got really, really good at doing things like throwing on clutch pylons in the mineral line or a gateway to block out those Hellions from getting their shots off. So we'll see how Harstem reacts to it, but it's going to be a Marine drop in the main with those Hellions trying to follow through and, of course, kill as many probes in the natural as possible.
Yeah, but instead of like the 3 that we see, it's going to be 5 Hellions going to that natural.
And the overcharge has already been burned, so defending on 2 fronts is not going to be easy for Harstem at all.
Absolutely not. No force field to help out either. He has a little bit of that gateway, again for like the bio attack, but it's also going to be helpful against the Hellions.
Here comes the Marines in the main. Harstem sees this. He responds immediately. Mothership Core without energy for an overcharge is going to watch these probes die in the natural. 5 go down immediately. 7 on top of this. And while the main's not doing a lot, if he keeps that medevac alive, this looks better. It's even the exit strategy for him. If these Hellions, they're going to dive towards the main. Or maybe just execute. Yeah, leave.
I mean, you got to think about what... Well, you could go for one of my Hellion drops later on. So it's like, because Hellions aren't really going to help you in PV or TVP. They'll help you in TVZ. Like they'll turn into Hellbats, and they're obviously very good. But like you think in a TVP, like you go ahead and just throw them away. Like get some Hellion or get some probes. Be good.
I mean, I kind of feel Harstem. Gumiho, I don't think you need to lose the Marines in the main, is the point I was going to make. Probably could have evacuated them out with the medevac, and the damage still would have been done. If he had dived to the main with those Hellions, he certainly would have netted a few more probe kills, but, I mean, still 14 probes killed is not too bad for that attack at all.
No, absolutely not. And that could survive, so I really hope we see Gumiho, you know, actually do some Hellion drops.
Yeah, well, whether we see those come later or not, we do have the 2-base Colossus coming to Harstem,
so... What's this tank for? I mean, they must be afraid of, like, a Blink Stalker counterattack.
I was gonna say it's a little too late to go mech. He invested so much into bio. So yeah, perhaps might just be the concern on his mind. He does, of course, have a Widow Mine placed in the main, so he is really worried about Blink Stalkers, and I'd say justifiably so. Harstem does have Blink Stalkers, but I don't know just how heavy he dedicates this. Again, he's trying to move towards those the robotics bay behind this.
Yeah. One tank won't be the end of the world, but I mean, the bio army with Stim finishing up a couple seconds probably would have been able enough to deal with it.
Well, I certainly think he's seen the Widow Mine at this point. Tank does come out. Man, you always forget how long the range on tanks are. Jesus. So he will fend this off. It's just the reason is it's so funny. You usually see Terran players put this on the ledge, right? And then Stalkers just blink into the bottom, and they're like, "Oh, hi tank, you're dead." But well positioned in the back like that, doesn't take any damage whatsoever. Does live.
He's getting another tank though, so I wonder what he's gonna try and like if he's gonna try and abuse a position or
right here.
Just
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, is that gonna be as good versus Terran?
I mean, it's got the potential to get free kills, and I think that's what everybody thinks about when they do this move. But at the same time, you know, they're good at zoning out Colossus. If positioned correctly, you know, you can really take a good fight. But it is weird to see the tanks come out. I definitely agree.
Yeah. Very surprised to see a third one. All the Hellions finally die, so no drops. They tried their best to be helpful. Actually, they did a pretty good job. I mean, 14 probe kills is good. But...
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Yeah, exactly. As you said before, like, you know, if he gets that position, that's cool. But tanks, if they focus down on a Colossus, they're actually pretty good at that. And there isn't even extended thermal lance, so they're going to be extra good versus it. Like, those Colossus are going to walk into most of the army anyways. Yeah,
13 range is a hell of a thing, but keep in mind, by having these tanks out, guys, it's less Marauders, less Marines, so I really don't know if this ends up being effective or not. But for Gumiho's sake, he did thwart off the attack, and a third one is on the way, so he's very intentionally going for these tanks for some purpose. Yeah. Now, there's a push, I think we saw him do the other day, where he ended up having 3 tanks on the ramp spread out, and then baited a lot of Protoss fire into it, and if that's the case, that's going to be a really, really cool move. Because, of course, even with Blink Stalkers, you never feel comfortable blinking directly on top of tanks, because the Marauders, the Marines, they're there, they're waiting for you.
Yeah. This is the position I imagine he would take. Very abusive for the Vikings and also somewhat abusive for the tanks. Obviously, they can shoot over this little ledge, so Harstem has to move right over there. And so now the third is open, and he's not going to be able to defend it. No,
he's certainly not. The Marines are taking this down way too quickly with his Marauders. Vikings, a couple of them on the front line, but that's all that's really necessary. The Stalkers not able to do anything. The tanks are shredding the Colossus in the back line, and the Marauders can beat out Stalkers every day of the week. Gumiho brings out his mech, and Gumiho brings out a victory. GG, as series now tied up 1-1.
Hey, tanks look good.
Yeah, something that's kind of hard to do in StarCraft 2 a lot of the time. But guys, we're not going to hit you with ads. We're just going to hop into the next game here as quickly as possible as we continue through with the EIZO Holiday Brawl. Third map is Merry-Go-Round, and damn, ZombiGrub's already on the ball. Didn't even get a chance to read what it was, and she's got the lobby up.
Ah.
Dang, girl. Okay, of course, Harstem and Gumiho in here as quickly as possible. So keep in mind, guys, if these players ever need breaks at any point during the series, we'll absolutely give them 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, walk off, breathe, whatever they need to do. Because we want, of course, the best games possible out of everybody. And Harstem. It's probably like, man, I came prepared for everything but tanks.
It's true that. What was the, it was Merry-Go-Round where Gumiho went mech, so... I feel like that's a pretty map-dependent build. I don't think we're going to be able to see it this series.
Well, I will try to